Alright, we've been reviewing these 50 series laptops for I think months now. Anyway, we feel the HP Omen Max 16 and Lenovo's Legion Pro 7i, they really are the best of the bunch. We've been particularly impressed by their price to performance, that's of the 5080 variants, at least when they're on sale, and they regularly go on sale for around $3,000 or less. In the context of these 50 series gaming laptops, that's actually pretty decent. Well, today we're going to have some fun. Sierra is going to put these laptops head to head. She'll be comparing each aspect like performance, display, look and feel, and giving you our scores for each area. Then at the end, yours truly will be back to add up the scores and crown an overall winner. Let the match begin.
Starting with CPU performance, we'll look at Geekbench, where the Omen slightly beats out the Legion in multi-core. This benchmark tests a variety of common performance tasks you may actually do on your laptop, like unzipping a file. Our next test, Cinebench, on the other hand, tests the raw power capabilities of the CPU when it is maxed out. Both do very well here, with their Arrow Lake HX chips outperforming last year's 14th gen CPU, but the Legion does win out. This is because Lenovo feeds the Legion CPU more power. What we feel is most important when scoring performance is how well the laptops make use of their components, which in this case is a very powerful CPU, the 275HX chip. That means the Legion will get a 5 out of 5 here, and the Omen will get a 4 because it doesn't quite make as effective use of its chip. Next, we'll look at GPU performance. In this category, the Legion comes out on top. In fact, the Legion is so strong, the 5080 version we have rivals some of the more expensive 5090 laptops like the Strix Scar 18. You can see this in Monster Hunter Wilds. In Cyberpunk, we see the Legion has much better 1% lows than the other laptops we are comparing it to. This is likely because it is able to feed its CPU more power during gaming than competing laptops. This isn't to say that the Omen performs poorly, though. It still has a strong showing when compared to laptops feeding their GPUs less wattage, like the Blade 16. In more GPU-focused tests like Port Royal or Wildlife, the Legion continues to outperform the Omen. In creative tasks like Premiere Pro, the Legion, once again, does much better than the Omen for similar workloads. So, based on how well they perform versus each other, as well as other laptops with the same GPU, the Legion will get a 5, and the Omen will get a 4. Now on to thermals. The Legion does a better job of cooling its components than the Omen, which you can see measured here during our Cyberpunk testing. We feel that the mesh and vents on the Omen are not letting nearly as much air through as the large fins on the back of the Legion. There could also be other factors at play here, like the 3-fan cooling solution on the Legion versus the 2 on the Omen. Regarding the resulting heat and fan noise, this is a category where I could not award a 5 to pretty much any gaming laptop. All of them have loud fan noise, although both the Legion and the Omen's fans aren't the worst we've heard, at least they aren't high-pitched. The main difference between these two is that the Legion stays a tiny bit cooler to the touch on the keyboard deck and more so on the underside. This goes for both CPU tasks like Cinebench and synthetic gaming benchmarks like TimeSpy. This means the Omen is a slight amount louder and warmer, so it will get a 3 in this category, while the Legion will get a 4. Gaming laptops have historically bad battery life, and this carries across to these two laptops. In performance tasks, it appears that the Legion does well, having 65% of its 100 watt-hour battery when compared to 58% of the Omen's 82 watt-hour battery. The Legion also performs better than the Omen when unplugged. When we switch over to light tasks, the Omen lasts a little over an hour longer than the Legion, with a smaller battery to work with. Given the Legion wins in one category and the Omen in the other, that puts them both at a 2 out of 5 in my book. They don't die immediately, but they aren't very trustworthy unplugged either. Portability is another place that gaming laptops don't particularly shine at. Unless you're looking at something designed to be thinner and lighter like Asus's Zephyrus G16 or Razer's Blade 16, you'll usually be stuck with a bulky, heavy laptop. In this case, they weigh about the same, with the Legion coming in a little lighter at 5.8 pounds, while the Omen weighs 6.2. This is actually a bit odd, as the Legion is slightly bigger. With their chargers, the Legion weighs a whopping 8.6 pounds and the Omen weighs 8.2. I feel this puts them both pretty low in the scoring, but not quite as low as something like the new 7-pound Alienware would be, considering that with its charger, it's almost 10 pounds. On weight alone, both the Omen and Legion would be getting a 2. However, the Omen is a bit more compact. We don't feel it's enough to warrant a full extra point, more like half a point, but since we aren't doing half points, we are going to round to a 3 for the Omen. Just keep this in mind when viewing our final scores. Next, we'll look at the chassis, starting with build quality. Both of these laptops have minimal keyboard deck flex, while we did notice a little screen flex and give on the lid for both. This means you may want to be careful placing something on top of either of them. Regardless, both are pretty well built. For looks and style, we really liked both of these laptops. Both have an understated look for a gaming laptop that we don't feel is too obnoxious for a student or professional working in an office. However, the Omen is a little more understated and sleek than the Legion, particularly when looking at them both from behind. The Legion has very large exhaust vents. This more gamer aesthetic of the Legion carries across to its RGB. It has custom RGB on its lid and back vents in addition to a front light bar that the Omen also has. But when you open the lid, the Omen looks much cooler with its RGB keyboard where the colors surround the keys. Given this, we're giving the Omen a 4 and the Legion a 3, as neither look as premium or as stylish as the look of the Blade. Let's now check out ports. Their collection of ports is nearly the same. 2 USB-A, 2 USB-C, an HDMI 2.1 port that connects directly to the GPU, a 2.5 gig Ethernet port, a headphone mic combo jack, and a proprietary charging port. One of the main differences is placement. On their new Legion chassis, Lenovo got rid of the ports on the back and moved them all to the sides of the laptop, leading to very likely cable clutter in the way of your mouse hand. This may have been to leave room for its impressive new cooling design, but we don't know. Disappointingly, both laptops only feature USB-C ports on the left side, but the Omen at least has its Ethernet proprietary charging port and the HDMI port on the back of the laptop, so that cables are less likely to be an issue. The Legion only allows for charging and docking on the left side of the laptop, unlike the Omen where you can charge from the rear or the side, which is more flexible. One positive the Legion has over the Omen, though, is that one of its USB-C ports, the one closer to the back that doesn't support Thunderbolt, can connect via DisplayPort 2.1 to the 5080 rather than going through integrated graphics first. The Omen does not have any USB-C ports that connect directly to the DGPU, and it will actually lock you out of DGPU mode when you try to plug in your external monitor via USB-C. In order of importance, we feel placement and selection are number 1, with special feature support such as a DGPU-connected USB-C being a nice bonus. This means we are giving the Omen a 4 for a good selection and good placement of ports, and giving the Legion a 3 for a slightly better selection and poor placement. But neither are getting a 5, as they both miss an SD card reader and Thunderbolt 5. For the display, we will only be looking at the highest end option from HP, although they do get a point for offering 2 less expensive display options. For these OLEDs, both the Legion and the Omen offer a vivid 2560 by 1600 screen that supports up to a 240Hz refresh rate and covers a wide color gamut. Neither of them appear to struggle with the screen door effect, which is very nice to see. We think you'd be happy with either of these screens, but the Legion's is a bit better for 2 main reasons. One, it allows you to lower its refresh rate down to 60 Hz to help conserve battery, while the Omen only goes down to 120 Hz. Second, the Legion's screen is much brighter than the Omen's, over 100 nits brighter for SDR content. This leaves us with a 5 out of 5 for the Legion and a 4 for the Omen. These keyboards are certainly different, but we found them to both be very comfortable. The Omen has an ample 1.5mm of key travel, while the Legion has an even greater 1.6. They both have a comfortable resistance to the keys, and you can feel a subtle click that isn't too loud. Both of their layouts are standard, with an included numpad. Their arrow key designs are slightly different, where the Legion's is full-sized and the Omen's is squished. Additionally, the Omen's keys submerge below the keyboard deck. This is particularly noticeable on the spacebar. Josh's thumb noticed this, and he didn't love it. I didn't notice it at all, though. The Legion's keyboard deck has a nice slant to it, so this doesn't happen. Overall, we are going to give the Omen a 4 and the Legion a 5. As far as creature comforts go, we'll be looking at trackpad, webcam, and speakers. Neither of these trackpads are super great, but they don't suck either. They're both around the same as far as accuracy and texture. They are smooth and feel natural to use. The Legion's trackpad is slightly smaller, while the Omen's has a clunkier, deeper click. For the other features, their webcams both offer a physical privacy shutter, but their quality is pretty disappointing. The Omen's is slightly worse due to its color looking washed out. For speakers, we feel the Legions are far more immersive and offer more range. We'll play both for you now. For creature comforts, we're giving the Legion a 3 and the Omen a 2 here. When it comes to upgradability, the Omen certainly makes it a bit easier than the Legion to access some key components like RAM, but it's not perfect either. Starting with the Legion, our main gripe is that you have to remove this additional aluminum plate to be able to access all of the components. This includes both SSDs, the RAM, and the Wi-Fi card. We weren't even able to get this plate off due to a faulty screw, although Notebook Check was, and here are the internals from their site. The Omen, on the other hand, looked amazing when you first opened it up. The RAM and extra SSD slot were super accessible. But You'd have to remove the vapor chamber cooler to be able to get to the included SSD and Wi-Fi card, which means you'd have to repaste your CPU and GPU. That is likely not worth it for most buyers. For the stuff you are more likely to upgrade, like RAM and adding an additional storage drive, HP gets the job done. Just make sure you buy the Wi-Fi 7 configuration so you don't have to worry about that being hard to access. Therefore, the Omen gets a 4, while the Legion gets a 3 due to that additional plate. We're not going to score Linux as heavily as some of these other categories, and instead we'll just give the laptop a point if it was mostly functional, and no points if not. Almost everything on the Omen worked, except for its keyboard backlight and display brightness up and down, so it does get a point for that. The Legion, however, was basically unusable. No point for the Legion here.
Thanks, Sierra. I want to reiterate, out of all the 50 series laptops that we've tested, so far that is, these are the best of the bunch. So, time to see which of them is the overall winner. For the Omen, we get a total score of 39, and for the Legion, 40. So, the Legion gets our crown, winning out in performance and for its brighter display. But as you've seen, these laptops, guys, they're really close. It's going to come down to price and your thoughts on the areas that are subjective, how do they look to you, their keyboard feel, and that sort of thing. Plus, whether some issues are deal breakers for you, like these ports on the Lenovo being so far down the laptop. At the time of filming, both of these have been hovering around the $3,000 mark, at least for the 5080 versions, which is the version that we recommend you get, but they do fluctuate with sales. Also, please be super careful, as there may be some config differences. The Omen can be had for around $2,800, but that's for the model with the IPS display. Anyway, if you're only looking at our scoring and configurations are the same, we feel that, say, a $200 difference would have us buying the Omen over the Legion. Let us know with a comment down below if you agree with our scoring or how you'd score these laptops differently. We really do learn a lot from you guys. If you like this head-to-head matchup, also let us know by liking this video and getting subscribed. It really helps the channel grow so that we can make more content for you, and boy do we want to. If you want to buy either of these laptops, you'll have the links below too, or over at our website bestlaptop.deals. Over there, we track prices from different retailers to ensure that you're getting the best deal. Plus, if you want our thoughts on other laptops, they're over there too. Till next time, go do something awesome with your day, and we will catch you later.